In this video, you will learn how to get a first class in your law exams and courseworks. I am Nini. I'm founder of StudyCrowd AI. I have LLB and LLM degrees from City University of London. I've got high 2-1 and first class grades when I was in law school, and then I started StudyCrowd AI, previously known as Simple Studying, to help law students get high grades like I did. We're building AI-powered platform for university students. We help UK and US university students to get high grades. We provide human tutoring, and now we're building AI tutoring as well. And we also provide career mentoring, both with humans and AI. And we provide personalized simple study materials. From our experience, this is the best combination to help students get high grades and build successful careers, whether it's in law or anywhere else. So for that reason, we created this system. You should trust us because we have already taught thousands of law students and helped them to get high grades. 90% of our regular customers already have reported to have got a first class with just our premium membership and on average 6 hours of tutoring sessions. After working with thousands of law students and helping them get high grades and first class, we recommend you to follow the premium subscription model. If you just subscribe to our premium subscription, it will give you everything that you need to get a first class. How to get a first class? Here's the quick overview. Well, the most important is to master the IREC structure: issue, rule, application, conclusion. It's easier said than done. So first of all, you should start with legal research, and you should know how to do the legal research, because when you have an essay question or a problem question, you read it and you see what the topic is. Let's say the topic is criminal law, offenses against a person. You would need to do legal research about that particular topic, but not generally about that topic. You need to make arguments. If it's a problem question, you need to identify the relevant cases and make arguments about that. But if it's an essay question, you need to make arguments about what the question is asking you. So you must be able to know how to do legal research that is relevant to the question that you are answering, how to find the relevant cases, how to find the relevant statutes and relevant provisions from the statutes or relevant journal articles. That's a whole system, and you should look at other videos that we have on YouTube and get help from StudyCrowd AI to learn that in more detail. Well, then the most important, after you do proper good research and you have the list of cases and the list of statutes and the list of journal articles that you need to use in your essay, you have to do critical analysis. And that's probably the hardest part because you cannot just explain the law. If you do that, then the professor will say this is descriptive and you may fail. So you need to do critical analysis that should be accompanying the legal research that you've done. So why is this case that you're mentioning relevant? What is the argument that you're trying to make? You need to argue, like if it's an essay question, both sides of the argument you need to argue and back it up with relevant journal articles or cases. So you need to do arguments here in critical analysis. And most importantly, Scholar referencing. Don't forget to cite the relevant cases or statutes or journal articles or media articles. Everything must be in footnotes and bibliography according to Scholar referencing. So issue is what is the issue in the given scenario. This is about a problem question. The rule would be what is the applicable law. application, you need to apply it to the facts of the case and say what would be the most likely outcome. In a problem question, if this kind of case goes to the court and you apply the relevant case law, what would be the most likely outcome? If it's a criminal law, will the defendant be convicted or not? Well, obviously, there is no straightforward answer in law, and there is no one specific exact answer because law is not math, but you need to talk about all possibilities. What kind of outcomes can you expect in a case like this, and back up your arguments with cases and statutes and so on. Critical analysis. First you discuss the law, and then you have to apply the law to the facts of the case and analyze. Here are some examples. For example, let's talk about law on offenses against a person, which is a criminal law, and every law student studies criminal law, so that's why I took this example. If you have an essay question about this topic, you would need to identify advantages and disadvantages and propose solutions for the problems that you have demonstrated. For example, Offences Against the Person Act 1845 uses outdated language, which is criticism, and solution you could provide is it can be amended to use modern terms such as, instead of grievous bodily harm that it is using, it could use serious bodily harm. So that's a proposed solution. And not only talk about the problems when you critically analyze a specific legal provision in an essay question, but also talk about solutions. How do you think this can be resolved? Exam advice. If you have an exam, which is very common in law schools, you have an exam where you have a set of 8 questions and you can only answer 4 or 5. What you can do in this case is do selective studying. So don't study everything that was covered in your course, but select the topics that you like the most, you feel the most comfortable with, and just study those. Let's say if you have criminal law exam where you're going to get 8 questions and you only have to answer 4, you can skip few topics easily. You could just revise the most important ones. For example, offenses against a person, property offenses, sexual offenses, murder, the homicide offenses. So those 4 topics could be you could revise those 4 topics and skip things like fraud, for example, because it's less important topic and may not even come up. So do selective studying if you have this kind of exam where you have a choice of questions, and definitely look at past exam papers. It's the most important advice I can give you. Look at past exam papers, go to Canvas or Moodle or whatever your university is using and download the past exam papers from there and see what kind of questions the students have received last year or the year before, whichever past exam papers they publish, and then practice answering them. Practice answering essay questions from the past exam papers, practice answering problem questions. Also, what you can do is go to studycrowd.ai, where we are publishing model essays. We're publishing essays that have come up on exams or courseworks and already been drafted an answer, and it's a first class essay or a 2-1 essay, and you can see what kind of answer is expected for a 2-1 level or for a first class level by looking at our model essays, so you can learn how to do it in more detail. But practice as much as possible. Just knowing the law is not enough. There are so many students I know that they just memorize all the cases and all the statutes and they go to the exam that way. No, that's not enough. You should answer problem and essay questions before going to the exam if you want to get a high grade. Problem questions. Only use primary law for problem questions. So that what makes problem questions a bit easier than essay questions, because in essay questions you need to do also like journal articles, media articles, a lot of things you need to refer to, whereas for problem questions you can just like rely on primary law, which is cases and statutes, and you don't need to read journal articles. Reading journal articles is quite complicated because the language that they are using in journal articles is quite hard to understand for a law student who doesn't have much experience with reading complicated legal texts. So I suggest that if you can, you go with a problem question instead of essay question. Essay question. So in essay questions, you need to first discuss the relevant law, then analyze it, so provide critical analysis, support your arguments with cases, statutes, international law, peer-reviewed journal articles, high-quality media articles such as Guardian, BBC, CNN, government resources. All of these things are very good that you can use for essay questions. However, do not use low-quality resources like Wikipedia, for example. You should not use that in essay questions. Definitely only use like high quality, trusted, credible resources. And as you see, there are so many resources that you need to be reading for an essay question, like media, government resources, international law, peer-reviewed journal articles. So many things you need to be reading. So that's what makes problem questions so much easier, that you just need to like look at cases and statutes and, well, yeah, just primary law. When you're writing an essay question, most of the students forget it, and it's very important. If you don't do this, you will get a very bad grade, and you may even fail. Refer back to the question and make arguments. Like, you cannot just write everything you know about the topic at hand, which most students do. You must answer the question. Let's say if you have a question about offences against a person in criminal law or sexual offences or whatever it is, you can just, like, obviously you need to explain the law, but you need to make arguments. You cannot just be describing the law that you know about this topic. That's not enough. You need to make arguments. First class tips. If you want to get a first class, your arguments must be very, very creative. They're not marking you here for your ability to describe the law. They are marking you for your ability to create very, very high quality arguments, because you're supposed to be a lawyer in the future, and lawyers make a living from making good arguments and, you know, like winning cases for their clients. So your arguments must be very creative. You can do creative arguments by looking at journal articles or by like reading more about like cases. Like, you could read the cases in full, the full transcript of important cases. That will give you a lot of ideas of what kind of creative arguments you could make. Show your knowledge and show that you've done research and you've gone beyond what was taught on the lecture, and you've done like further reading and like a lot of further reading and a lot of further research. And as a result of that, you are able to make very in-depth, creative, interesting arguments. You need to show excellent understanding of the law. Many times students don't understand the law correctly, and therefore their arguments are not on point. So if your understanding of the law is not very good, you will lose marks there. Or scholar referencing. Follow the OSCOLAR referencing guide. That's the easiest marks you can get. So make sure that you don't lose those easy marks by making mistakes when you reference. Make sure that the footnotes are there, the bibliography is there, alphabetical order in bibliography, very common thing that students usually forget. And like these little details that you need to implement for correct OSCOLAR referencing. Make sure that you follow all of that. Covering all the relevant legal issues that was covered on your lectures and additional research. It is very important for you to cover all the cases and statutes that are relevant for your question and was mentioned in your lecture. However, go beyond that, like show that you've done further research. So talk about what was covered on the lecture, but also talk about more than that, like show that you've done your reading and you've done your research and you can say more than what was taught on the class. And finally, propose your forms. If it's an essay question, not if it's a problem question. In problem questions, you just apply the law to the facts of the case and advise the parties. But in essay questions, this is where you propose your forms. So after the critical analysis of a specific area of law in an essay question, you should recommend possible changes. How do you fix the problems that you've been talking about in your essay? For a first class, you will make this kind of reform proposals. But if you want to get lower grades, maybe reform proposals are not necessary. But I highly recommend it if you want to get a first class. So for high grades, look at our study materials, because our study materials summarize the lectures and summarize the reading from books, from media articles, from journal articles, and you will save a lot of time just by using our study material. So you don't have to read everything on your own from scratch. Just read the summaries and that would be all, and you can use that for both your courseworks and exams. We also have model essays, example questions and answers that you can get on your exams or on your courseworks. So you will learn how to get a first class or how to get a 2-1 in any area of law with our model essays. We have tutorial videos like this one. We have case summaries, more than 3,500 case summaries actually. And we have flashcards and quizzes as well. Also, it is very, very important to get a one-to-one tutoring session. On a one-to-one tutoring session, a tutor will be working with you on a Zoom meeting and will be able to assist you with anything that you may need help with, whether it's an exam or a coursework, whatever you need help with, a tutor will assist you. So thank you very much for joining this class. And join studycrowd.ai to maximize your chances of getting a first class law degree.